Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Weyburn City Council here, held Monday, May 14th, 2018. Summer is upon us, and so we should be dealing with a lot of things that are affecting our summertime activities this year. So the first thing on the approval of the minutes from Council, April 23rd, 2018. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion, Your Worship.
Second?
I'll second it, Your Worship.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Nothing from administration, Your Worship.
Any of the members of council? If not, we move forward. There are no public hearings and notices. There are no delegations, proclamations, and petitions at this time. The reports to standing committees, there are none. We have the consent agenda. We have the cash activities report, tax collection report, and accounts receivable report.
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion that the following items on the consent agenda be accepted as follows. A, the cash activity reports, January to March 2018. B, the taxation collection reports, January to March 2018. And C, the accounts receivable reports, January to March 2018.
Second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We have now the motions. Accounts payable. Where's the motion?
Your Worship, I'd like to make the motion that the purchases in the amount of $1,006,911.38 from April 17th to May 9th, 2018 be passed for payment. The purchases include quick pays in the amount of $78,519.26, accounts payable in the amount of $820,471.79, and direct withdrawals in the amount of $107,920.33.
Second?
I'll second that motion, Your Worship.
Discussion? If there's no discussion, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Next on the agenda is a Weyburn Agricultural Society Beer Gardens approval request. Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have a request from the Weyburn Agricultural Society for their fair days, which this year will be from July 1st to 8th. They're looking at having alcohol sales on Monday, July 2nd and Tuesday, July 3rd from 5 to 11 p.m. For their Chuck and Chariots races. On Thursday, July 5th from 4 till midnight. On Friday, July 6th from 1 until 1 a.m. For the rodeo, and as well as for the rodeo from 12 until midnight on Saturday, July 7th. And then on Sunday, July 8th, they're looking for their demolition derby for alcohol sales from 12 until 9 for their beer gardens. So they provide us drawings for the site, and it meets all the requirements we need to provide them approval for liquor and gaming.
May I have a motion, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move that the Council support the request of the Weyburn Agricultural Society to make applications for the assurance of outdoor liquor permit by Saskatchewan Liquor and Gaming Authority for the following dates and times. Monday, July 2nd, 2018 from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Thursday, July 5th, 2018, 4 p.m. to 12 o'clock a.m. Friday, July 6th, 2018, 1 p.m. to 12 a.m. Saturday, July 7th, 2018, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. And Sunday, July 8th, 2018, 12 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Do you have a second?
Your Worship, I'd like to second that motion.
Call the discussion. Any discussion? The Chair recognizes Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, everybody has seen the advertisements for the Agricultural Society this year. We're having it all in 8 days. The fair, the midway, the 4-H, the chuck wagons, chariots, demolition derby, rodeo, everything. So it's a nice, busy week in Weyburn. We expect a lot of people here for it. One of the things I believe on the request, alcohol to be served in the grandstand area on a couple of those dates. but we have added extra security especially for that, so we think everybody will behave themselves, but we have hired special security to come in to man these dates and facilities, so.
And the parade is on July 2nd.
July 2nd, yes, I believe it is.
That's
So
starting at 10?
10 a.m., yeah.
Okay, very good.
There's
I mean, 10:30? At 10:30 a.m., July 2nd is when the parade is going to start.
There's a lot of new things here, and we really hope it takes a lot of people. All we know is it's going to require a lot of extra volunteers to handle everything at a time, but we're ready for it.
Well, very good. Any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Next is Miller Well Servicing, request to serve alcohol. Mr. Warren?
So we have another request for the current gaming going for Friday, June 8th from 4 till 8 p.m. from Miller Well Servicing. They're looking for hosting a retirement barbecue for an employee who's been with them for over 16 years. So once again, they're looking for a request. They provide all the proper documentation for liquor and gaming. I'm just looking for approval from council.
Your worship, I'll make a motion that the request of Miller Well Servicing for council's motion of support to make application to SAS Liquor and Gaming for authorizing to serve alcohol at a staff barbecue at their local shop located at 1751 East Ave from 4 p.m. through 8 p.m. on June 8th, 2018 be approved.
Second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? No discussion at this time. Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Public Library carpet tender. Mr. Warren, again.
Thank you. Once again, we have a request here from our facility manager, Greg Bunn, regarding flooring over at the public library. This is a project that's actually been in the queue for us since 2016. We've had it carry over for 2016, 2017 into 2018. So we put an invitational bid for this project. We received one bid back from us from Weyburn Carpet One for $18,931.05, which includes labor and materials and taxes. For us, we're looking at it's a time-sensitive matter. We're looking to have the project done between the 18th of June or the 29th of June. So what we're doing for the flooring is a luxury vinyl tile. So it changed a little bit from what we requested initially through the project. It was the library board's choice what flooring they wanted. So the flooring will actually go in the entire basement, excluding the children's play space and bathrooms and meeting room in the back. But for us, this is why it's coming to council, because it's over top of the $15,000 budgeted, but we do have $23,000 budgeted for facility improvements at that site.
Your worship, I'll make a motion that the quote of Weyburn Carpet One for the replacement of carpet in the lower level of the Weyburn Public Library in the amount of $18,931.05 be accepted as presented.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call the discussion. Chair recognizes Mr. Richards first.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm just curious about the switch to the vinyl tile. I think it's probably the right thing to do because for sure maintenance-wise, but will there be some projects then that don't get done if there was that $23,000 is going to be chipped away at to make good on this?
Yep. Councilor Richards, we're going to be removing an office addition to that site we had for upstairs, and we'll be using that towards this project. And we've already talked to the board in regards to that.
And they're fine with that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Mr. Mickle.
Thank you, Your Worship. The only one bid for this particular project sort of concerns me a bit. With the economy as flat as it is, there's more local people, I'm sure, that could maybe bid on this tender. I don't know why they didn't. However, it is what it is, but I just thought there'd be more activity.
Yeah, what's happening there, Councilor Mickle, is that we're seeing that for a lot of our projects that they can't supply the materials, they can supply the labor. That's where we get a lot of from Carpet One right now. That way, we are hoping that we have more bids in the future for future projects.
Any other discussion? With that, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We're going on to And the usual one, Royal Canadian Legion livestock approval request. Mr. Warren.
Yeah, I think it's initiation for me on this one, so it's a little bit of a different one. So we had a request from the Legion, part of the Show and Shine this year on June 16th. They're looking for a project called a chicken poop off, where they're actually looking at having between 1 and 3 chickens laying poop for a fundraising effort. So we actually went through and Donette went through some old bylaws for us, and there's actually a bylaw from 1970. So it's bylaw number 1126. It actually states that we have to go through this process. I think it states that we have to have approval if there's anything with specified livestock or poultry in city. So it's something new we learned. We actually went through and made sure that our police chief was aware of it, and he has no issue with it. Me as city manager, we have no issue with it, but we had to bring it back to council for you guys tonight.
Your Worship, I'd like to make the motion that the request of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch number 47 to have a maximum of 3 chickens in a fenced area next to their property at 153rd Street Northeast to hold an event on the day of June 16th, 2018 be approved.
Second?
I'll be happy to second that one, Your Worship.
And if they run out of chickens, I know where there's a bunch of pigeons. They can. So with that, if there's no further discussion, Chair recognizes Mr. Mickle.
I just want to make a comment, Your Worship. This kind of event was held many years ago. The Red Wings did something like this at Crescent Point Place lobby. It was quite intriguing to watch. First time I've ever seen it. So if public get out and have a look at this, it's very interesting.
Mr. Baird.
Yes, and I'm sure you can buy a square because that's the whole,
That's what you did.
you select the chicken to
Yeah.
pick your spot and be pooped on. And you win when you get pooped on. There you go.
There you go. No further discussion. All in favor?
Thank you.
Carried unanimously. We now go to our water main replacement. Nader, if you would, please.
2018, the city budgeted $967,000 for the replacement of the water main at Government Road from Cotto Avenue to First Avenue. This work is funded partially by the Clean Water and Wastewater Fund. On April 11, 2018, a request for proposal was posted in Sask Tenders and the city website. The request for proposal stated that this work must be completed between the period from July 15th to August 30 to accommodate for asphalt resurfacing. We received 2 responses for the request for proposals in May the 9th. One of them is Jordan Excavating out of Sherwood, Saskatchewan, and GCS Energy Limited out of Verdun, Manitoba. The pricing is as presented in the attached table. It is recommended that the Director of Engineering be approved to negotiate a contract with Jordan Excavating for the completion of Government Road water main replacement in full accordance with the terms and conditions contained in the request for proposal and as per the bid price submitted.
And the bid price again is? $527.83. And it's from Government Road, First Avenue down to Cotto. Okay. Do you have a motion, please?
Yes, Your Worship. Thank you, Nader. I'm pleased to make a motion that the bid of Jordan Excavating to provide the completion of the water main replacement on Government Road from Cotto Avenue to First Avenue Northwest in the amount of $502,427.83 be approved.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? If there's no discussion, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. The work to commence when?
Mid-July.
Mid-July? Okay. At that point in time, then we're most certainly going to have to inform the public to make sure that they understand. Will the street be closed down during that time?
It will be closed, but we will be trying to work block by block. The reason for closing Government Road, that will be working in the water main for one side and for the sewer connection, which is failing on the other side. So we have to close block by block.
Mr. Mickle?
Thank you, Your Worship. One more question, Nada. When this infrastructure is complete, is paving going to be done at the same time?
We will try to do it this year. Like, it is budgeted for this year. The problem, we have to make sure that the compaction for the backfill material is up to specs, and that's what we are going to do.
Okay. Thanks.
Moving on to the next one. We have our fireworks bylaw. Chief Allman, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. I've come back before you again with this fireworks bylaw with some amendments that you asked for. Let me just find it. Please excuse me. Okay, so as we alluded to before, this bylaw just brings us in line with other major Saskatchewan cities. It talks about the times you can set off fireworks, where you can set up fireworks, things like that. It talks about the differential between public fireworks and display fireworks. And it also has a stipulation in there of the retailing of fireworks. Okay, and for the retailing of fireworks, there's a permit application fee. And for that fee, then the retailer will get an inspection and things like that.
Do you have a motion, please?
Sorry, Your Worship. I'll make a motion that bylaw 2018-3375, being the City of Weyburn Fireworks bylaw, be given the first reading.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call discussion. Mr. Van Betju.
Thank you, Your Worship. Chief, I just want, will there be communication between yourself or the fire department and the existing retailers that this bylaw is now in place so that they're fully aware?
Should the bylaw be successful, then I will visit all the retailers in Weyburn and show them the bylaw, explain things, what they have to do, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Mr. Richards?
Thanks, Your Worship. Two questions now, and I think I know some of the answers.
Okay.
To the chief, there's a few days now that it will be okay to use fireworks for personal use. And my question to you is, would an individual, like if I wanted to set off fireworks, would I need to come to City Hall and get a permit to do that?
No, you
just
would.
for my own use, for
No,
my family?
not for your own works, for your own family fireworks, for your own display, for your family, there is no permit for that.
Great, thank you. So my second question is on 6.3E, and that talks about the vendor's permit. I understand that you've got some concepts around what that price would be, so I've got a couple of questions around how that would work for the mobile vendors. And I see you've addressed their presence properly. I agree with what you've said. What I'm curious is they would still need to have, in addition to the fireworks permit, they'll still need to have the same business license that any other mobile vendor would have in the city.
That's correct. They would still need a city vendor's license.
Thank you.
Mr. Jessel?
Chief Simon, just, I guess, for the public's knowledge, when and where and times can the public actually light off their own fireworks?
So I'll just quote
Sorry to
this.
put you on the spot.
That's okay. So fireworks can be discharged on the day preceding New Year's Day, the day preceding Canada Day, and Canada Day.
Mr. Jessel?
I guess one other question then, I guess getting at it, so it is New Year's Eve. Now, does that also flow into a noise bylaw? If we're setting fireworks off at 11:30 or 12 o'clock, does that, could that fall in, I guess, into that noise bylaw?
It does. The noise bylaw will supersede this bylaw.
Just want to be sure
Yep.
and be clear of that, so.
The other question that is that if we have a fire ban, and such example, you're going to be putting a fire ban on tomorrow
Correct?
throughout the whole city?
Correct?
So there's no outside fires?
Yep.
No fireworks? The fire bans will cover this fire?
That's correct. We will stipulate that when we talk about a fire ban, we will mention, and very specifically mention, fireworks are also banned.
Okay. And then the last question, I guess, is directed at our chief of police there. So with this fireworks and the noise bylaw, although it's going to fire off once and then probably be quiet, there's still going to be some issues.
Yes, Your Worship. It'll be like any other noise complaint that we get. We'll deal with it if we get calls on it. Although this authorizes people to put off fireworks during those time periods, they still have to abide by the noise bylaw. So we would investigate those just like we do any other incident now. So.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor of first reading? Carried unanimously.
Your Worship, I'll make a motion that bylaw 2018-3375, being the City of Weyburn Fireworks bylaw, be given the second reading.
Second that.
Discussion? No discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously.
Your Worship, I'll make a motion that bylaw 2018-3375, being the City of Weyburn Fireworks bylaw, be given the third reading at this meeting.
I'll second that.
Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously.
Your Worship, I'll make a motion that bylaw 2018-3375, being the City of Weyburn Fireworks bylaw, be read a third time and passed.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor? Carried unanimously. We'll now move on to our traffic bylaw for the second reading of the traffic bylaw. Mr. Warren. Or I guess, Nader, if you would, please. Otherwise, I'll let you fight it over there.
Yeah, no worries, no worries, Your Worship. What we're looking for right now is permission from council to take this back to administration for further review. We're asking for the reading not to happen tonight and to be pushed into us to have further review into the traffic bylaw and provide further background to you guys. So what would happen, it would be our director of engineering, our fire chief, myself, going through the measures of reviewing it. Police chief, sorry, police chief. Going through the measures to make sure we review the full document, provide you as a full request of what we see as administration moving forward for traffic bylaw.
Do you have a motion?
Yes, Your Worship. I'll make a motion that further consideration of bylaw 2018-3379 to amend traffic bylaw 2016-3346 be postponed to allow administration to complete a full review of the bylaw and then brought back for second and final readings.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? No discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Water conservation bylaw. Nader, if you would, please.
So the forecasted weather for May showed that there is an above average temperature and below average precipitation for the coming period. The Nickel Lake level, current level is approximately 1 meter below the full level of now, which is reflected approximately to 43% decrease in the lake storage capacity. We received a letter from the Water Security Agency stating that the spring runoff within Nickel Lake watershed has been extremely low in 2018. Most water appears to have been absorbed by the land, and they said that this is one of the lowest experienced runoff since 1980s, and they are requesting us to start doing some kind of precaution regarding water conservation. One of them is to enforce the water conservation by law. providing public with alternate ways for reducing their water usage. So at this point, the engineering department is willing to bring the water conservation bylaw to be for first reading and potentially for enforcing it as soon as possible.
You have a motion?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to make a motion that bylaw 2018-3380, City of Weyburn proposed water conservation bylaw be given first reading.
Do you have a second?
Your Worship, I'll second that motion.
Call the discussion. Mr. Richards?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just 3 points, two questions, 1 point to the Director of Engineering. First off, I appreciate what you have said in section 4.2 because it addresses a concern that I had brought to me a couple of weeks ago. I think everybody in town knows that water restrictions are coming, and there was somebody approached me about a new lawn they were doing. You have indicated in section 4.2 that newly constructed lawns are exempt, but they will require a permit. They've got to come in and see you to get a permit to water daily or whatever they might expect for a newly constructed lawn. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My question is, and I understand that this traditionally does not apply to users of the Rural Utility Board water in terms of watering lawn. Is that correct?
We can't enforce the bylaw there. However, we can contact the rural municipality to try for them to educate them and to start reducing their water consumption as well.
So we're hoping that all of our users are understanding and they try their best to limit water use where they can.
Yeah.
Although they are prohibited from filling reservoirs directly with that.
Yes.
And my final question is to you, and I know that this is hard to answer, but the filling station that we have on 16th Street, will there be any restriction to that?
Of now, there is no restrictions. However, if the water levels is decreasing dramatically by mid-August, September, we could enforce shutting this down for further notes.
Okay, thanks for all your work.
Further discussion? Mr. Van Bichu?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to make note that I note in the bylaw, we do have the ability to strengthen the restrictions, make them, I don't know if you want to call harsher is the proper term, or to do a banning without having to bring it back to council. And I think that's very important. As again, if we do get into the situation where in the summer where we're not receiving water and council's not meeting, that the engineering and administration staff have that ability to do that. But I do very much encourage the residents of Weyburn to conserve water. This year it's very important. Every year it's important, but this year it's extremely important. The more we conserve now, then the less we have to worry about it going forward.
Please.
I don't know if it was last year or a couple of years ago, but I think it was kind of the same bylaw that was applied in Weyburn. So I was wondering, was it effective? If it seems like we're still short on water supply, so I'm thinking it might not have worked as well as it would have.
It was 2016, and I think by then it works well. The issue here, we have to enforce it ahead of time just to make sure that we will reduce our water consumption. Any bylaw, there is some violation for any bylaw. However, if the majority is going by it or enforcing it, I'm talking about citizen enforcement, this will definitely affect our consumption or the depletion for the Nickel Lake capacity.
Yeah, thanks. I think just so maybe it was me, maybe because I was younger and I wasn't even paying attention, but maybe for this year, it would be better if we would have an earlier knowledge of this, and it'd be possible, a wider, I don't know how to say this, but a more impactful kind of announcement so that people would understand it more and maybe just understand what could it bring as an effect, I guess. I might not be making sense, but I'm just trying to say that if it matters to the parents, but not to the kids, who are mostly the ones at home, especially at summer, then maybe you should try to reach out to them too.
We will definitely do, like, our Facebook page will post some techniques for water conservation, and like, it will have the major items in the bylaw for resident to go and see it, like, where we are, like, what is the times for irrigation, what is the days for the resident. Those information will be posting on the Facebook once this bylaw is approved.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Mr. Chesel?
Your Worship, I guess just wondering, 2 years ago, if we ever actually had given fines? And if so, who actually, is it our bylaw officer or police department that
Chief
handles
Pritchard,
it?
if you would, please.
Your Worship, Council. We had some complaints, but we never did lay any charges. Our bylaw officer, of course, would respond, or if the bylaw officer was not working, we would respond. But off the top of my head, we did not receive a lot of complaints, but we did receive a few.
Any further discussion? I'd like to make a statement, and because this water shortage, as it was reported on CTV, and we could even get our Director of Engineering to make one statement before we start, our water engineering, I should say something and back it up, but they had stated that this is a point when this 43%, we're down 43%, and it was asked, I guess, actually also too, what level is it when it gets critical? Are we in a critical stage or not?
Currently, we are not in a critical stage. However, we have to work ahead of time. The reason for this, like, once we reach, like, a mark for 2 meters below the fall level, the fall Nickel Lake level, we will have very hard time for treating the water, and it is expected that it will have odor and organic matter, so it will add extra problems for our water treatment plant to operate.
And what,
Shabir is here.
Shabir, if you could explain, what level are we, how low are we down from the regular water level right now?
Thank you.
A meter and a half down or 1 meter down?
Right now, 1.04.
And you can expect about 2.5?
It depends on how hot weather we will get. In summer, normally 20 to 25 centimeter level drops per month.
So that would mean roughly how many months before we're down to a 2 meter level?
I will say 3 months.
How many?
3 months. If there is no rain, then it's a critical. I'll just give you a little brief about the level of the Nickel Lake. Right now, we are at 561.90, and the total capacity of the lake is 8,940 meter cube. For example, if it's a drop 1 meter down, then it could be 3,390. So you can see 6,000 decameter drop. And after 2,500 decameter, we don't have any water. It means our critical level is 559.60. And right now we are at 561.90.
Okay, thank you. The statement is that basically I do not support this bylaw, because I don't think when you say that within 3 months we're going to be doing a critical level, much more has to be done. I don't think this bylaw is enforceable. Recently, we saw the water shut off to the city due to a water main break, which is a reminder how valuable the resource water is to a city and a community, if not one of the most. We have no control on what Mother Nature will provide us in regards to winter runoff or precipitation. So while we must hope for the best, it is essential that we plan for the worst. It's essential we plan as if we're going to have another similar or worse year than we had, so that we can plan and prepare for what should this become a reality. Today's conservation efforts will help us reduce the time in which we can face a water risk, but it's the long-term solutions and options that will reduce the actual risks we may face when we continue to have low precipitation. As we discussed this concern, there are 3 areas that I would like our council to think about. Educating the public, getting information out, and really getting the public to understand where our water comes from, historically, how our water levels have been, and where they are now, and what can happen if we don't conserve. Utilizing newspaper, but social media, video pamphlets with waters. Water conservation is the second subject. Before we can truly understand this issue, we must understand the total problem which Shabir has given us. We are 3 months away from a critical level, and it's important we understand where our water goes and also chart whether it is residential, it is commercial. We are hearing there are trucks loading commercially full of water, which is and agriculturally using our water, which is going down to a critical level. It's also implementing strategies that are going to deliver results. While dictating what days we could water lawns may prevent daily watering, this doesn't fully address the real concern of volume of water that is being used. This type of strategy has little evidence to suggest effectiveness and is really difficult to enforce. One possibility, though, we've got our new water meters. We have the advantage of being able to monitor and curb high volume users and look at it that way. Those who fail to contribute to the community's water conservation should be held responsible to contribute monetarily, no matter what a bylaw fine. No matter what we have charged for water or levy fines, if you don't have water, we don't have water. So fines are totally useless when we run out of water. We have to look at additional water sourcing, look at our options, investigate bringing new source of water to Weyburn, and hedging our bets. We all share this concern. I'm confident that we'll, as a council, consider this. But as far as I am concerned at this point in time tonight, I feel that this is just a very temporary. We are reaching a very critical stage, and this is not effective. This is effective. We are hoping and betting for rain, which may never come. It has to be dealt with in a much more volume basis, not just a daily watering. Therefore, I cannot support this bylaw. Mr.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't disagree that we probably should be investigating other sources of water. I don't think that's an immediate solution. I don't feel this is a temporary solution. This is the initial solution, I think, is what it is. In the bylaw, we have the ability to enforce it, make it stronger, and I think that's the right direction. We have to do something now. Sitting back and not doing something tonight, we're delaying it another 2 weeks, possibly longer. So it certainly is hard to enforce. You know, it's mostly done on a complaint basis, but I think as a rule, we've done a good job of educating, getting information out there. Social media is strong. We just have to hope that the citizens of Weyburn heed the warning and they take it very serious. So I definitely support this.
Chief Pritchard, you have had a chance to review this bylaw. Is this bylaw enforceable? That was one of the statements that was echoed a while back, that the past one was not enforceable. It was very difficult. Is this bylaw enforceable?
Every bylaw is enforceable. We can lay charges, but it'll be whether the courts will find it guilty or non-guilty. So
but I mean,
yes.
Is it easily policed? As to how are you going to be able to, do you have to have someone circulating around constantly all the time?
Well,
how much manpower is going to take to enforce such a bylaw?
That's hard to say, but I mean, it'll be like most complaints. We're going to have to get statements. It's you know, it's pretty straightforward what I'm reading here about the days. So I mean, if it's an infraction that way, but again, it's a building block. Can it be enforced? Yes. What the courts will find, that's out of our control. But yeah, we can enforce it. But it'll take resourcing, absolutely.
Mr. Chesson.
I think the other thing we need to look at too is whether this discussion is coming up or not. But as of now, we're not looking at changing. You know, the summer rates. You're not getting the discount over the summer. You're paying full price year round. So I think as citizens, they'll realize too if. You're actually, in a sense, finding yourself, because if you're overusing water, you're going to pay heavy for it for this summer. So that's something good to factor in.
Chair recognizes Mr. Mickle.
Thank you, Worship. I think this bylaw is very important, and I assume we're doing 3 readings tonight. However, the reason I'm saying this is that the motions have to be unanimous, Your Worship. If somebody's against it, we have to wait for 2 more weeks to make this happen, and I don't think we can do that. So I see your views, and I totally respect your views. However, if we want to make this happen tonight and not in 2 weeks down the road, we have to be unanimous.
Your Worship, actually, the only reading of the bylaw that has to be unanimous is not the actual readings, first, second, or third, but the motion to allow 3 readings tonight must be carried unanimously. So normally we do that after the second reading. If that wasn't carried unanimously, we would not be able to do the 3rd reading tonight, and it would be delayed to May 28th.
Then, with that in consideration, I do want to see something, and something has to be done. I just do not think that this is strong enough. But in consideration of the idea that something has to be done immediately and drastically, I will follow along. But I would recommend that we look at how, and if there is a recommendation, is there in the bylaw again that we can upgrade the strictness of the bylaw very quickly?
Yes, Section 2 about the controls is stated that the city manager has the authority for changing how restrict this bylaw reads. So we can go for full restriction. That being said, we already have in Public Works, we already have suggested a table for irrigation for the public parks, stating most of them is at 50% reduction for irrigation, some of them at 100%. The only fields which will be at 25% reduction in irrigation will be the ones which will have sport activity, just to keep the lawn capable for maintaining the kids. We have a discussion with the city manager for cutting the hours for the splash park as well, just to reduce or to make a role model as a city for the public. Also, we will postpone our directional flushing for this year, so most likely we are not going to do it this year, just for conserving the water and making a role model for citizens.
Mr. Wheeler.
Thanks, Your Worship. I agree. I think we need to do something now. If we wait 2 weeks, it might be too long. I do have one question, more out of curiosity thing. How much of the decline is attributed to evaporation versus consumption?
We don't have an exact study for this, and all the data we have for now is a bathymetric survey for the Nickel Lake, which was conducted in 2012. So even with the numbers, we are saying the depletion could be 43%. So since 2012, now there is sediment which was contributed to the Nickel Lake bed. I don't think it will be much, but it will be affecting the storage capacity as well. So we are trying to be cautious on those numbers. Evaporation-wise, we don't have any studies regarding this.
Okay, thank you.
And just to clarify for the public, so there's no, because I had heard that this misconception, we did not let water out of the lake. We didn't let release water this spring?
No, we didn't release water this year.
Because that was kind of, some of the people thought that was there. We didn't do the same, so. Okay. Did you read that? Okay, call the question on this first motion, and I do agree with that. We have to do something. And with that first reading, call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously.
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion that bylaw 2018-3380, City of Weyburn proposed water conservation bylaw, be given second reading.
Your Worship, I'll second that motion.
Call the question. All in favor?
Your Worship,
third reading.
Your Worship, I'd like to make a motion that bylaw 2018-3380, City of Weyburn proposed water conservation bylaw, be given 3 readings at this meeting.
All in favor? Or second?
I'll second that, Your Worship.
All in favor?
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to make a motion that bylaw 2018-3380, City of Weyburn proposed water conservation bylaw be read a third time and passed.
Your Worship, I'll second that.
All in favor? And with that, the water conservation bylaw is in effect. As you can see tonight, that it is most important. I still carry that we should be doing a stricter, a different way of doing it, but in the sake of moving this forward, I agree to this bylaw because we have to. This is utmost concern. We are putting a fire ban in tomorrow. Is that correct, Chief? The fire ban will be going in. We are low, very low in the water. We are in a very critical state, and I believe that I hope that all the citizens in Weyburn who are watching and the media gets this, that we are in a very, very critical state that we haven't seen since 1980. So we must really be observant, watchful, and considerate of our neighbors on this. No golf green grass. Let us just keep things, let's conserve our water, because I'd rather have water for coffee, a shower, cooking food, than green grass in the front row of our house. With that, moving on to, there's no unfinished business. Moving on to new business. We have miners' requests. Amanda, if you would, please.
We have received a request from Miners Leisure World to increase the number of units stored on 10th Avenue, north side between Government Road South and 3rd Street South. Currently, they can store 42 prefabricated homes, mobile homes, or recreational vehicles between June 1st and September 30th. And up to 100 units between October 1st and May 31st. They are requesting to store 150 units on the site year-round. They are also proposing to install a fence along the property boundaries, which does not require council approval, as fences are permitted under the zoning bylaw, with maximum heights as long as they're within the property boundaries. I did send out a neighborhood notice to adjacent property owners who back onto this property, and there were a few neighbors who had concerns with losing the view of the south, as well as having a fence constructed. They also had concerns with obstruction of the public lane and potential crime and theft or vandalism due to the increased number of units on site. To address these concerns, I sent these owners a letter letting them know that the city has no authority to deny the fence being constructed as long as it is within the maximum height and within the legal boundaries of the property. I advised that the legal bounds of the rear lane would still be open to the public and accessible to all property owners who would like to use it. I also talked to Police Chief Pritchard, who has advised that there's never been any calls received regarding theft or vandalism to the property or any units stored thereon, nor have we had any complaints of the property being unsightly or untidy. After considering these concerns from the neighbor and talking to Police Chief Marlowe, staff recommends option 2 with the following conditions: that the fence construction along the property shall conform to zoning bylaw requirements for highway commercial, being a maximum of 8 feet in height and not to be installed to obstruct any site triangles. Any security lights to be installed shall comply with the zoning bylaw requirements set out in section 5.1.8.13, exterior lighting. Any areas not occupied by buildings, parking, loading, storage must be landscaped in accordance with section 15.1.2 of the zoning bylaw. All property, including land, buildings, structures, and outdoor storage, shall be maintained to minimum standards set out in the City Weyburn Property Maintenance Bylaw 2004-3021, and subject to the site plan review and approval by the Weyburn Fire Department.
You have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I'd like to make the motion that council amend the original motion passed at the March 25th, 2013 regular council meeting to allow Miners Leisure World to store up to 150 prefabricated homes, mobile homes, or recreational vehicles as permit under zoning bylaw 2003-2099 year-round with the following conditions as presented in the report.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? Mr. Richards?
Thanks, Your Worship. Amanda, I noticed in there I shouldn't say you, it says to store up to 150 prefabricated homes, mobile homes, or recreational vehicles. I don't see them storing the manufactured homes up there. I only see the RVs. I feel like that language is a little deceiving in there.
Yeah, that's what was in the original resolution, Jeff, so I just stuck with the same wording.
Fair enough, but this
There's
is
no
really- this is
manufactured
campers.
homes, right, yeah.
Correct.
And this is zone commercial?
This is on a contract zone as highway commercial for Miners Leisure World.
Any other discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We have the next one is the development permit, discretionary use, 1835 First Avenue Northeast.
We have had a request from Sask Energy for the placement of a shipping container to be used for storage at 1835 First Avenue Northeast. All minimum setbacks proposed are in compliance with the zoning bylaw. As shipping containers are discretionary uses in any zone, neighborhood notices were sent out to all property owners within a 75-meter radius of the property, with no issues or concerns received. As the proposal meets all the zoning bylaw setback requirements and conforms to the standards for shipping and cargo containers, staff recommends approval of the placement of a shipping container at 1835 First Avenue Northeast, subject to the following conditions. Products stored must be directly related to the primary commercial use. Shipping containers are not to be leased or used by an outside party other than the property owner. Shipping containers are prohibited for the storage of junk, trash, and other forms of refuse, hazardous substances, or perishable items. Shipping containers shall be kept locked to prevent unauthorized access. Shipping containers shall be placed on a hard-packed level surface with any bottom drainage holes to be secured against the environmental and/or rodents. Shipping containers are prohibited from being plumbed or electrified. Shipping containers shall be painted and maintained to be aesthetically pleasing. Any outdoor storage on site shall conform to Section 5.4 of the zoning bylaw. Any areas not occupied by buildings, parking, loading, or storage shall be landscaped in accordance with Section 15.1.2 of the zoning bylaw. All property, including the land, buildings, structures, and outdoor storage, shall be maintained with minimum setbacks, or the minimum standards set out in the City of Weyburn Property Maintenance Bylaw 2004-3021.
Your Worship, I'm prepared to make a motion that the development permit application 2018-004 from Sask Energy to place a shipping container at 1835 First Avenue Northeast, legally described as Lot 2, Block 12, Plan 1018-74034, be approved with conditions provided.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Call discussion.
Thank you, Your Worship. Amanda, this council or previous councils have discussed many times, I think, or several times, the container usage in town, and we see them more and more. And how do we keep them from being an eyesore? I see in your conditions here, it has to be fenced around it, which I think is a good thing. If we have to do this now, were the other ones that are, and there's some on Railway Avenue and stuff that are very visible, that are not fenced around, is there a way to go back and get them cleaned up
Honestly,
to match this condition?
The only two that are approved to be out there by council is the one at Home Hardware that we did last year and this one at Sask Energy. All other shipping containers out there have not came in for a permit, and we have not done any enforcement. Lots of them were in place before these standards were in place, but we can definitely, when time allows, go around and send letters to all the owners who have shipping containers on their property.
Okay, thank you. I don't think Home Hardware have put theirs in yet, so
right.
I am not sure on that one. So it just, I mean, if they're going to fence it in and maintain it, I guess I can deal with it, but I just, I like storage sheds way better than containers.
Laura, just for seeing, we had a grants in lieu taken away from us, and this was supposed to, that we weren't, are these properties being taxed? Is Sask Energy, Sask Power being taxed? Or are we not getting, are we getting any tax off these?
We get 5% now from them.
5%?
Yes, of what they collect. That's actually the next.
Well, I know that's the next, but is Power doing that too?
Yes, Power still does it.
But that's basically, they're not that's not really, they're not paying tax because they're putting a surcharge onto the people's bill and they're doing it. Are we not supposed to be able to start being able to tax them?
No.
Why not?
Because it's legislation.
Yeah, but I thought that when they said that when they took away the grants in lieu, and that was the discussion, wasn't it? That they said that now we can start taxing the building properties. And the reason I bring this up is that as we add another shed or something onto it, taxation should go up. And the taxation was quite minor as to what, as compared to the 1.5 million, 4 million that we lost. Why are we not being able to tax? And again, just not simply legislation that is, I thought they were changing that. But anyway, I'll let you look that up and get back to me. No. Any other discussion? Mr. Rich?
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm kind of with Councillor Bailey on this one. I understand that these shipping containers are terribly useful, right? They're easy to pull in, they're low maintenance, and I think, Amanda, you've done a good job here of ensuring that the thing is kept looking nice and all of that. I am, I don't know what the word is, a little bit hesitant if these things start to proliferate, right? That the whole, those kind of lanes behind, there's some pretty nice homes there. It could look like a shipping yard in a short amount of time, and I don't know how we address that. I don't have an answer. I don't have a question. I just have a statement to say I want us to be aware that this could become troublesome in the future.
And I guess that's where I was coming from, that these are now not, I could see people doing this so they can get out of taxation, right? Because every time you put a building up, a storage shed up, you're adding value to the property.
I'm not sure if SAMA assesses these. They are greater than 100 square feet, so I'm not sure if SAMA assesses them or not.
Because if they're not assessing them, and this is a way for them to get around this, and by using it, and they'd be creating an eyesore, should we even be allowing these things?
From what I understand, Your Worship, if it's stationary, they're assessing it. Just from a personal experience, who has 72 of them, I'm getting taxed for them, so.
Okay.
And are you taxed at a fair rate, Councillor Chesney?
No, it's way too high.
So they are being taxed, if we could collect tax from government agencies. All right. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. You said are the taxes fair rate? Are they also considered, does each one have an individual fence around it to make sure that they're... Anyway, moving on. Rural water hookup. Nader.
The Weyburn Utility Board has requested approval to hook up one residential water service. The site is more than 2 miles from Weyburn city limits, and the owner have confirmed a satisfactory sewage hauling arrangement. It is recommended that the following request to be approved for residential water service for Daryl Quintine at a cost of $10,000 for connection fees.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'd make a motion that the application for access to the rural pipeline for the following rural applicant be approved, subject to fulfilling the Weyburn Utility Board and City of Weyburn residential water hookup requirements to Daryl Quinton at the northwest section of 020814 west of the 2nd.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? No discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Sask Energy Municipal Surcharge. Again, Nader?
No, that's me.
That's you, Laura, okay. Somebody,
So with the provincial budget, they announced that they're going to restore the Sask Energy Municipal Surcharge at a rate of 5% for all urban municipalities. Some municipalities had a 3% surcharge. City of Weyburn had a 5%, so it wouldn't change our rate at all. It's estimated that our revenue will be $285,000 for 2018-19, or to March of 2019. And the council has the option of opting out of receiving the surcharge. The government would keep it, I guess. Or I guess you just don't charge it to your residents. So they're already being charged it. So I would recommend we take the surcharge.
Do you have a motion, please?
Your Worship, I'd like to make the motion that the Ministry of Government Relations be informed that the City of Weyburn wishes to continue to receive the additional revenue from the province by way of a 5% municipal surcharge to all Sask Energy customers.
I'll second that, Your Worship.
Discussion? You would like to discuss this? Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Van Betcher.
I just want to clarify, Laura, this was, the government never took it off. They just did not pass that money on to the cities last year.
Correct. They kept it for themselves.
Yeah, so they're just giving it back, giving
So now we
back
get
to
it.
us what they took.
Yeah, we don't actually have to even notify them. If no action is taken, we will just receive it, but we can choose to not receive it.
And I believe when we were up at that, I was up at that pre-budget meeting, and I'm sure when you saw it in the budget too, that basically they had said that there was not a lot, but there was a few municipalities that weren't charging, even charging. What you had said is some were charging only 3%, some municipalities weren't charging at all, and so they're just saying, everybody, you can either go ahead with it, or you can opt out of the program, but we are already in that program.
I think the clarification on why some RMs and municipalities weren't doing it, there wasn't a lot of gas service in those RMs, and so it wasn't too much of an advantage for them to do it. So that was the only reason why now they've changed it up a little bit. So,
with that, any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried unanimously. We now move on to inquiries and announcements. Mr. Richards, you wish to make a statement?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I just wanted to talk about the Weyburn Chamber of Commerce Business Excellence Awards that were held this most recent Friday, the WABEX Awards, and I want to congratulate the winners of those awards. The winner of the newer expanded Business of the Year was Vortex Plumbing. The winner of the Golden Service Award was Pet Value. The winner of the Community Involvement Award was Crescent Point Energy. They had a number of businesses going to the Business Hall of Fame this year: Sears, Music Craft, New Dawn Wellness, and Prairie Greenhouse, as well as our very own Jeff Chessel's New Age Electronics. The Business of the Year was awarded to Vortex Plumbing and Heating, and Councillor Chessel was awarded Business Leader of the Year that night. So congratulations to you and to all the winners.
Yes. Congratulations.
Speech?
I already made my speech. Thank you, though.
There are no notice of motion. There's no request for clarification. There's no committee of whole. And with that, we're going to call an adjournment. Thank you, everyone, for watching us and all the participation.